All right, reactive dog training mistakes. The 4 reasons why you're still struggling with your reactive dog. Let's talk about what is reactivity first. Reactivity is when a dog will bark, lunge, or act aggressively on the leash at the sight of a dog or a person. It's an abnormal level of arousal, barking and lunging, to a normal stimulus like a dog or a person. Now, this problem happens when the dog is on the leash. And some reactive dogs are fine with dogs off leash, and some are not. So think of reactivity as your dog yelling at another dog. Now, the biggest mistake that struggling dog owners make is not understanding the quadrants of reactivity. In order to solve this problem, you need to understand these quadrants: knowledge, rehearsal, tools, and training. And if you're not following these quadrants, then that could be the reason why you're not seeing the results that you want. So what happens is we're not getting the results we want. We go online, we watch a dog training video, and we learn maybe a tip or 2 tips, and we're like, oh, that's why I'm not seeing results. Then you incorporate those tips into your training, and it still doesn't move the needle. And that's because there is more than one section underneath these quadrants of reactivity. And that's why it feels like you're doing all the things and nothing is working. Now, I don't want to overcomplicate this process, but you need to have 80% accuracy in these quadrants. It doesn't have to be 100%, but it needs to be about 80% in all 4 quadrants. Hi there, my name is Sherry, and I'm a certified professional dog trainer. And like you, I had a reactive dog. I kept telling myself that my dogs would mature and grow out of their reactivity. But that didn't happen. It was a cloudy day in California, and I was walking my dogs at the park, and Sadie spotted a dog across the street. I took a deep breath. I remained calm but assertive, and I said, Sadie, look at me. I wanted to get her attention before she exploded and got into that zone. I kept saying, Sadie, Sadie, but she locked onto the dog and got into the zone. She started barking and lunging. Even though I was repeating her name, she just ignored me. Then Roby, my other dog, started barking and lunging too. They started to fight with each other, and I thought they were going to slip out of their collars. There I was standing on the sidewalk watching my 2 dogs fight with each other because they saw a dog across the street. I finally grabbed one of my dogs, bent down, and they both calmed down. The person walking their dog probably thought I was incompetent for not being able to control my own dogs. But really, that was the least of my problems. What was wrong with Sadie? Why was she acting like this? And why was Roby doing this as well? And how was I going to live with these dogs and this problem for the next 10 plus years of their life? That day, I decided that I would figure out how to solve this problem no matter what, to some degree. I bought a bunch of books and I read all of them, but they didn't really give me any solutions. I hired a few dog trainers, but they didn't help either. I spoke with another trainer who wanted me to use a shock collar on Sadie, but I wasn't ready to do that. Finally, one of the dog trainers I hired told me about a local dog training conference. I paid my $500 and went for 2 days. I finally found some answers and some books that pointed me in the right direction. After the conference, I realized that I didn't know as much about dogs or dog training as I thought I knew. I also realized that I was using different methods and different training plans, and I was really all over the place with my training, and that wasn't going to work. I had to stop doing that. I wasn't a dog trainer back then. I didn't know all the pieces of the puzzle, and I didn't even know if it was possible for my dogs. But I was inspired by that conference, and I went to work and I tried again, and again, making small adjustments, not even noticing those adjustments. And guess what? It worked. Sadie and Roby were able to be calm when they saw a dog. Feeling excited and proud of my dogs, I ended up leaving my corporate job and going through the Karen Pryor Dog Training Academy and becoming a certified professional dog trainer. I opened up my own dog training business called All About Training Dogs. When I started to help other reactive dog owners, I noticed a pattern of exercises that help reactive dogs learn faster. This helped my clients get quicker results even than I got when I was working with my own dogs, Sadie and Roby. So this is my reactive dog, Sadie, and I'm using her here in this video to help an 11-year-old reactive dog. This dog had been reactive for 11 years. Now, I use the same process over and over for all of my reactive dog clients. Now, what I learned is that there are two main ingredients that you need to help your reactive dog. Number one is determination. Dog training is a numbers game. It's all about rinsing and repeating until it becomes muscle memory for your dog. The second thing that you need is the right training plan. You need a process to follow with step 1, step 2, and step 3. You don't want to be all over the place like I was with Sadie and Roby when I wasn't seeing results. Now, the Barkaholics protocol has been used on hundreds of dogs over the past 12 years. As you go through this presentation and this class, I want you to remember that dog training is a numbers game when you have the right training plan. So what is the right training plan? Well, these quadrants will be the foundation for the training plan. And if you're not following this process, it's probably why you're not getting the results that you want. So this webinar is perfect for you if you're ready to learn, take action, you're excited to walk your dog without barking and lunging, right? And you want to avoid making mistakes that make reactivity worse. Now, you're going to get some strategies today on what to do and what to avoid. And for those of you that want to take it a step further, I'm going to offer you a program that you have to pay for at the end of this presentation. But before that, I want to share Bosley's story with you. So Bosley was a reactive dog from Armenia. His parents wanted to do private training, but the lockdown happened and they couldn't. So they did the Barkaholics program instead.
Hi, I'm Joanna, and this is Bosley, one of the candidates and students of the Barkaholics class with All About Training Dogs. Bosley was an extremely reactive dog, and he saw other dogs from a distance, hundreds of yards away. He would react, bark, lunge, growl, and the Barkaholics gave us a lot of tools to work with. The come touch, the place, and kind of all of the building blocks that really kind of created a good solid foundation for him to be able to basically listen to us and pay attention to us and basically not react when he saw other dogs. Now we can basically pass on the sidewalk another dog and he is quiet, calm. We have tools to work with him if he gets a little anxious, and it's a process. It is does take time, commitment, but Shirley's class is amazing and gives you a lot of tools. It's easy to follow. It's easy to video yourself. She's very accessible and gives you basically feedback of what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. And we couldn't be more thrilled. Bosley's awesome now and thrilled to have. We can actually go out and enjoy walks and not be stressed about seeing other dogs, and take him to the beach, and we have a great time. So thank you, All About Training Dogs, and thank you, Shirley, for all your help.
Just a testament of Barkaholics. Horses everywhere, dogs walking by. Bosley, you being a good boy.
All right, so that was Bosley's story. Now, if you stay to the end, I'm going to give you a list of some of the most popular reactive dog episodes on the Naughty Dog podcast. All right, so let's get into this. So today you're going to learn the most common mistakes that make reactivity worse and keep you stuck with a reactive dog. So knowledge is the first quadrant, and knowledge is the most important quadrant because it sets the stage for how you solve the reactivity problem. If you get this part wrong, then you are going to continue to struggle. So the eyes are useless when the mind is blind. And I want to show you a video to illustrate this. One of the most important things that dog owners need to know is dog body language to protect their dog and their family. So it might not look like a lot is going on in this video, but this dog is worried about this little girl. He's got whale eyes, ears are pinned back, he's cowering, and he's panting. So I asked the little girl to walk away, and I want you to watch this in real time because I'm going to put it in slow motion so you can get a better look at what's going on. But at first glance, you might not think anything is wrong with this video. You might think everything is okay, but this dog is worried. So I want to put it in slow motion and have you watch it again. So watch that top ear. The dog is listening to see where the girl is. He pins both ears back when she gets off the couch. So we're in slow motion now, and she's walking towards the dog. See the dog's ear go back. He looks at her. He's got whale eyes, so you see the whites of his eyes. He closes his mouth, flicks his tongue. See that tongue come out? Lowers his head, starts to cower, pins his ears back, and he starts to pant. So when you slow down a video, it's a lot easier to see that the dog is stressed. She continues to pet him here. You see him flick his tongue. That is a sign of stress. His mouth is tight and closed, and he is worried. So this video is a good example of the blind spots that you might have when you are lacking basic dog knowledge. Now, the goal of dog training is to describe, understand, predict, and change your dog's behavior. And you need a little bit, just basic dog knowledge to do that. And this video was a good illustration of some stress signals that we're not born knowing as humans. So how do we learn about our dogs today? Where do we get our dog knowledge from? Well, we get our dog knowledge from social media, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, things like that. We might watch some reality dog training TV shows that seem to be real life. Maybe we talk to friends, neighbors, or relatives, ask them, hey, have you had this problem? What did you do? Or maybe we surf the interweb and we read blog posts. But here's the problem with that. You're not getting the whole picture. You're only getting pieces, and there are missing pieces that you need in order to solve the reactivity problem. Now, a lot of people make the mistake when it comes to research. They say, oh, I've done my research. But really, what is research and what questions are you asking in your research? So the internet is an amazing thing, but not every blog post or article is accurate, and you need to be aware of that. What is accurate is the validated and reliable research that is done on dogs and dog training. You need to know that there is research data and a lot of it on dog training, but more on that later. Now, another mistake that dog owners make is asking the wrong questions. They ask, how do I get my dog to stop barking and lunging? And if you want to see success, you need to ask better questions like, why is my dog barking and lunging? You want to ask why. So the easiest way to solve the reactivity problem is to look for the cause. So barking is the symptom of the problem. This takes us to the root cause. You want to change the root cause of the barking. When you change the cause of the problem, the barking will go away on its own. So barking is the symptom, and your goal is to change the root cause. Now, you might be thinking, well, is dominance the cause of my reactivity problem? And is a reactive dog dominance, or is he trying to be the leader? No. A reactive dog is not trying to be dominant or trying to be a pack leader. So dominance started by a study by Rudolf Schenkel with a pack of wolves, and he was studying social behavior of these wolves in a zoo in Switzerland. He found there was a lead wolf with a female, and that there were weaker males and younger wolves. He found that a status order was established between these wolves in the zoo, and that's what he called dominance. Now, the study had a major flaw. The captivity conditions prohibited the normal biological course of social behavior. In other words, do wolves act dominant in the wild? Unfortunately, the dominance theory took hold, even though it was inaccurate. Some dog owners and some uneducated dog trainers thought they needed to show the dog that they're the boss, or be the alpha, or make him submit. But dominance creates and increases aggression in
law enforcement
dogs.
say there are times when they need to show these working dogs who is boss. Now, the video we're about to show you is one of those times. Sources within Customs and Border Protection tell me this is really what made the dog aggressive. His dog food, he just didn't want anybody to touch what was in his bowl. So a canine trainer had the handler teach that dog a lesson. This video, obtained by Team 10, shows a canine handler trying to pin down a young German Shepherd named Roy. Several other Customs and Border Protection dog handlers watched from outside Roy's kennel near the Mexico border when this happened early this year. The handler growls the same way the leader of a wolf pack might growl to show dominance.
Does your dog think you're a wolf?
The object of this exercise is to get Roy to submit, stop fighting. You can hear a trainer's voice instructing the handler, whose sources say had never done an alpha roll before. When Roy stops fighting, the handler slowly rises up, but Roy gets up too. The fight is on again. 4 minutes later, Roy submits. Watch what happens after the dog's two muzzles are removed.
He had
Someone
two
puts a bowl of
muzzles.
food on the kennel floor, but Roy avoids it.
Looks like he's fixed.
The very next day after that incident, a worker came inside Roy's kennel to take care of him. Roy bit him on the hand. Then when Roy's handler came to the kennel, he also was attacked. Now neither the handler nor Customs and Border Protection want any part of Roy. Some in law enforcement say
dominance
there
training
are
increases
times when
and
they need to
creates
show these
aggression.
working.
Years after Schenkel's study with the wolves, a man named David Meck studied wolves in the wild for 30 years. He found that there is not an alpha wolf that fought his way to the top, that wolves are in a family pack with a mother, a father, and the pups. Just like what Schenkel saw here, a lead wolf and a female, and younger males that were trying to get the female, right? So really, it's a mother and a father wolf protecting their pups and protecting their family. Also, your dog is not a wolf. So dominance is not the root cause of reactivity. But what about socialization? Does a reactive dog need to be socialized with other dogs? Well, does this dog look like he wants to be socialized? Does he look like he wants to say hi? Now, most people mix up the word social and socialization. So being social isn't the same as socialization. Socialization is a developmental stage that happens in puppies between the ages of 3 to 12 weeks old. Puppies are born underdeveloped. They can't see, they can't hear, they can't walk. That means they develop fear over time. From 3 weeks old to about 14 to 16 weeks old. Most puppies are born curious, which is the perfect time to add positive experiences to the puppy during that socialization window. So think of socialization as adolescence. You can't go back to adolescence. You can't go back to socialization. The socialization stage ends between 12 to 16 weeks old. It's too late to socialize your dog after that 12 to 16 week period. And leash greeting makes reactivity worse. But we're going to talk more about that later. The moral of the story is socialization is only for puppies. Now, is reactivity a breed characteristic, right? Like with Sadie, I was told that barking isn't a breed characteristic. Are certain breeds naturally protective, aggressive, or reactive? Years ago, I worked with a rescue, and this puppy was returned to the rescue because the dog trainer told the parents that this dog was a pit bull and that trying to change his nature was going to be difficult. And so when they returned this puppy to rescue, they said trying to change his pit bull nature is not a fight we're able to make. But is that true? What about golden retrievers, right? Would we have any aggressive or reactive golden retrievers if it was in the dog's nature? Let me show you a quick video. This is Bruce. Bruce has a lot of anxiety. Bruce is a golden retriever. So Bruce is a reactive golden retriever. What happened to his nature? Now, don't worry. Bruce got help. His mom went through the Barkaholics program, and Bruce lived happily ever after. So this is Bruce working through the Barkaholics program. You saw a dog just walk by on the sidewalk. It's actually pretty hard to do in front of your house. And then a dog's going to walk across the street, and you will see Bruce look at that dog and be calm, right? So he's a golden retriever. Is that in his nature? So is reactivity genetic? Is there a genetic code that causes reactivity? No, there is no genetic code that causes reactivity. So let me ask you this. Is your personality exactly like your brothers or sisters? Do you like the same things as your brother and sister? Do you have the same favorite restaurant? Do you both have the same favorite color? Are you both extroverts? What about your parents? You come from the same set of DNA as your parents. Are you exactly like your parents? No, because there are other influences besides DNA that make up your personality or your nature, right? So thinking that is like thinking that all redheads are hot-tempered. But does your hair color really determine your personality? No, it doesn't. The same is true for dogs. DNA is not the cause of reactivity. And every breed of dog doesn't come from the same pair of mother and father. In other words, they're all from a different set of DNA. There was a 13-year study on the whole nature versus nurture thing done about dogs. And what they determined is that environment, early life experience, and learning history play a big role in the dog's behavior. So it's not 100% genetic. Now, I want you to remember when you're training your dog, no matter what he looks like on the outside, training happens in their brain. So training and learning goes on in the brain, not in the tail, not in the fur, not in the legs. When I first got Sadie and Roby, I was told that Italian Greyhounds are difficult to potty train, and it would probably take me 3 years to potty train them. Why? Why would it be more difficult to potty train an Italian Greyhound than a Doodle? Is there a chromosome for potty training that Doodles get that Italian Greyhounds don't? No, there isn't. There is no reason. And what happens is when we hear these things, we look for validation of that, even though it's not the case. I don't want that to happen to you. Your focus with a reactive dog needs to be on the root cause. So what is the cause of reactivity? Well, there are 3 root causes for all problems. Reactivity is no different. 1, the barking is rewarded. We'll talk about that more in the next quadrant. 2, your dog doesn't know what to do, kind of. But 3, this one is correct, it's an emotional issue. All dogs have emotions: happiness, excitement, fear, and anxiety. And reactivity is an emotional issue. And there are 2 main emotions: excitement and fear. Excitement is the dog is excited and he wants to greet another dog. And fear is the dog is afraid of other dogs. So excitement is when the dog's friendly, right? And wants to say hi to other dogs. He might pull towards another dog. He might bark when he can't greet another dog on leash. And what happens is this excitement turns into frustration, and frustration can lead to aggression. So there's a direct link neurologically between frustration and aggression. So this is what a excited dog who's reactive with people, right? All right. Now, most people think their dog is excited, but he really isn't. So I want you to watch this video. There are 3 dogs in this video, and I want you to focus on the dog that I circled in this video. So understanding this can help you with your reaction. Okay, so she's barking. And then here's the other dog.
Okay,
and she's running away.
That's not. She's gonna say.
There she is. No, she's, look at her.
Okay, so that dog's hiding behind mom. This dog goes and sniffs, goes potty.
Oh, Marco. Mom, what is that?
Okay, so there she is hiding behind mom.
Over there.
She's moving away, right? So the dog walks away and she goes to sniff. The dog comes back.
She's obviously scared of him.
Okay.
And she runs and hides behind mom. So just because she isn't barking and lunging forward doesn't mean she isn't afraid. She wants to move away from that dog. And this is what happens when we think of a dog as fearful. We think of them as cowering and hiding and crouching down, right? Now, this is how it starts, but this isn't always what fear looks like. Fear turns into self-defense. If you wanted to defend yourself from someone, you might fight them off of you. You would still be afraid, but you are fighting or defending yourself. So fear is the most damaging emotion a social species can experience. And once a pet has been frightened, it never forgets that experience. Doesn't mean it's impossible to change. So fear is when your dog is worried about other dogs. Maybe he had a bad experience with a dog, or maybe he didn't have enough good experiences in that socialization period. Maybe he was punished or corrected for barking, lunging, or growling at another dog. Or maybe he was forced to greet other dogs. So reactivity is an emotional issue, and emotions can't be controlled. Your dog can't control his emotions. The survival instinct kicks in, and emotions come from a different part of the brain. Emotions come from one part, and teaching sit, stay, come comes from the other part, like you see in this picture here. You need a process to change the dog's emotions. So emotional issues should be treated just like medical issues. Reactivity is an emotional issue, and you wouldn't let your dog walk around with a broken leg. And the same is true for reactivity. Also, the stress decreases the immune system. So reactive dogs are stressed out even when a trigger isn't around. So I want you to watch this video, and you'll notice that this dog is looking all around. So I sped up the video, but you could see this dog is turning his head's on a swivel. He's what we call hypervigilant, looking all around for something scary. So there is no dog around visible, but this dog is stressed and worried. So dogs have two responses to fear: fight or flight. And when a dog can't flight or run away, they are going to fight. When your dog is on leash, he can't run away from what he's worried about. And dogs want to avoid conflict. They don't want to get in a fight. If they got into a fight in the wild, they might be severely injured or die. So they want to avoid conflict. And they do that by making themselves look big and scary to get the other object that they're frightened of to go away. So remember, fight or flight. When your dog's on the leash, he can't flight or run away. All right, so the next quadrant is rehearsal. So the first one is allowing reactivity. So the more a dog practices a behavior, the better he gets. So the more your dog practices being reactive, the better he's going to get. The more you practice playing basketball, right, the better you're going to get. And the same is true for your dog. So this is what it looks like. Okay, there's a dog across the street. This dog is barking. So you know what reactivity looks like. The dog that's barking gets rewarded or reinforced because the other dog goes away when he barks. All right. The next one in rehearsal is leash greeting. Leash greeting falls under rehearsal. Leash greeting is when you let your dog say hello to another dog on the leash. So you're walking your dog on leash, you see a dog, and you let your dog say hello or greet that other dog. But let's look at some photos of leash greeting gone wrong, and if a dog really wants to greet another dog. So here we have two dogs. You see the dog on the left, they're both dachshunds, is leaning back. His tail's under. He's got a little bit of whale eye and his head is turned away. The dog on the right, the black dog, he has his head forward, his tail straight up, the leash is tight, and his body is stiff. So neither one of these dogs are comfortable greeting on the leash. You might not even know a lot of dog body language, but you can look at this and tell that the dog on the left is more unsure and the dog on the right is way too forward. So this is going to make reactivity worse. We call it forced leash greeting. Let's look at another photo. So here we have a Boston Terrier on the right and a Basset Hound on the left. You can see the Boston Terrier is turning away from that Basset Hound. You can see the Basset Hound's leash is tight. He's lunging forward, right? The Boston Terrier doesn't want to say hello. So this could make reactivity worse. Here's another one, maybe a little less obvious. So the dog on the left, the black dog, right? His head is forward, the leash is tight, his body's stiff, and he's leaning back. And then the puppy on the left, he's a little unsure, but his body looks soft, right? The leash is a little bit loose, but his head is lowered. So you could tell that this black dog is a little unsure. He might not want to say hello to this goofy little puppy that's going to jump on his head. So when two dogs greet, they greet butt to butt, not face to face. So you want to avoid leash greeting if you have a reactive dog. Now, one of the mistakes that we make is we think, well, my dog needs to face his fears. And shouldn't my dog feel better once he sees that the other dog isn't a threat? No, that's not going to work. Again, this is an emotional issue, not a logical issue. And let's say that your son or your nephew was afraid of the water, right? You would go slow. You would encourage him, say, stick your foot in. You would hold him. You wouldn't just push him in the water and say, get over your fears, or maybe you would. If you did that, if you just pushed him in, is he less afraid when he's in the water? No, he's more afraid in the water. And now he doesn't trust you when you're out there with him at the pool. The same is true for your dog. Now, one of the mistakes we make a lot with dogs is when someone says your dog needs to face his fears. What he's really doing is he's comparing you to your dog. So stop comparing yourself to your dog. Your fears are not the same as your dog's fears. So I just did a quick internet search and I said, what are the most common fears that humans have? And it was public speaking, heights, going to the dentist, snakes, flying, spiders, and enclosed spaces, right? As humans, right? I'm public speaking right now. Most of us don't like public speaking, but we know as humans, if we do public speaking, we're not going to die. When we say we're afraid of public speaking, we're afraid of being embarrassed or humiliated. We're not afraid we're going to die. Not afraid we're going to have to fight for our lives with these things. Your dog thinks that he's fighting for his life. All right. So don't compare yourself to your dog. Your fears aren't the same. Your dog doesn't think like a human. All right. The next one in rehearsal is unsupervised barking. This one's really important. So unsupervised barking is barking out the window when the owner's not around or when the owner is around, barking at noises in the house, fence fighting, barking through a fence, and in the backyard. So this is what it looks like. Okay, this is on a patio. And this is behind a fence. Okay, this can actually cause a dog to be reactive, right? He's reacting to a dog. So basset hounds. Okay. So you want to avoid unsupervised barking if you have a reactive dog. Now you can cover windows, put your dog in a bedroom when you're not home, no leash greeting, no fence fighting, and no barking through the fence. So you want to avoid seeing any dogs. And you learn how to do this correctly in the Barkaholics program. All right, so the next quadrant of reactivity is tools. Can training tools hurt? And which ones do you want to avoid? So training collars are punishment. So okay, let's just start over. All right, the next quadrant. All right, so the next quadrant of reactivity is tools. Can training tools hurt your dogs? And which training tools do you want to avoid and use? Training collars are considered punishment. So they have a horrible physical and emotional side effect for your dog. So those training collars will be choke chains. That's a chain that goes around the dog's neck and tightens and chokes the dog when the dog pulls. A prong collar is very similar also, but it has spikes that go into the dog's neck that drive in when the dog pulls. It tightens, that collar tightens, or an e-collar or a shock collar that delivers an electric shock to the dog's neck. So choke, prong, and shock collars can irreversibly damage your dog, according to Dr. Peter Tobias, who is a vet. So he said, for years, I've observed the relationship between neck injuries and the health of dogs. The neck and cervical spine are one of the most important energy channels in the body. A lot of nerve endings and blood flow through the neck and the spine. Some of the symptoms that he's observed, the physical symptoms, have been lameness, skin issues, allergies, lung and heart problems, digestive issues, ear and eye conditions, thyroid gland dysfunction, and dogs that use these collars have a higher rate of cancer. So there is a physical side effect from using choke chains, prong collars, or shock collars. Now, what do other experts say about this? So the American Veterinary Society of Animal Behavior are going to be the leading experts in dog training. They are certified DVMs, veterinarians, and they went back to school for additional training and education in animal behavior. So they will have either a PhD or a DVM and additional credentials. And what the American Veterinary Society of Animal Behavior said, punishment such as using choke chains, pinch collars, and electric collars should not be used due to the potential adverse effects, which include but are not limited to inhibition of learning. Doesn't that defeat the purpose? Increased increase fear-related and aggressive behaviors, and the injury to animal and people interacting with the animals. Punishment may not change the underlying cause of the behavior. Remember, you want to change the root cause. And the use of force to stop the fearful reaction will make the animal more fearful, not less. And the animal may suddenly act with heightened aggression with no warning and may attack more aggressively. You don't want that. A lot of times, these uneducated dog trainers will say that shock collars and e-collars, that they don't hurt. It's just a tap. It's only to get the dog's attention, and they can save the dog's life, and they're necessary for certain breeds. So my neighbor was walking and she ran into this dog trainer, and these are the things that he told her. She took a picture of the card and sent it to me. But if it is really just a tap, why is there so many settings on these e-collars? Why is there setting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And if it doesn't hurt, why do some dog trainers call it a last resort and say that it saves the dog's life? So remember, the American Veterinary Society of Animal Behavior said when you use these, a dog may attack more aggressively or with or without no warning, making it much more dangerous. I want to show
Specialized dog training and also
another
promises
video.
the best dog for your home.
But one family who entrusted their pet to a longtime local trainer was devastated with the results. 13 Chief Investigator Darcy Spears has her warning to your family.
Week of obedience training, which included the use of a sit-mean-sit shock collar.
He showed us the collar, he showed us how it would work. More or less, it would be more on the vibration to get his attention. What is that on his neck?
She realized it was a bloody wound.
One of the first things I had noticed when I took the collar off of Oreo, it has these 4 prongs in it. Horrible. And distinctly you can see 4 spots on his neck.
Physical burns.
I had put it on level 4 and I could feel the shock from my hand through the tips of my ears and the top of my head.
They took Oreo to the vet right away, where an exam revealed raw sores on his paws, multiple wounds on his body, and this.
So by the time the veterinarian shaved it down, I was mortified.
Pronounced burn marks on his neck from the prongs of the sit-mean-sit shock collar.
I've been blaming myself. I've been crying a lot. I'm so sorry for what happened to him.
Sit.
But his family says he's now distrustful, skittish, and nervous around strangers.
He's
I
worse.
just want people to know it can't keep going on like this. These poor puppies, they trust you.
Specialized dog
Yes.
training and also
Your
promises
dog
the best
trusts
dog
you.
for your home.
And I show
But
you
one
this
family
video
who
so that
entrusted
you
their
know
pet to
what
a
you
longtime
want to
local trainer was
avoid. So this dog trainer also guarantees his results using that shock collar. His card says guaranteed results or you don't pay. Again, the Certification Council for Professional Dog Trainers, unethical to provide a guarantee in dog training. Now, not all dog trainers are certified. I'm certified through the Certification Council of Professional Dog Trainers, but it's not required. And if you are certified, you have to sign a code of ethics and you have to refrain from providing a guarantee to an outcome of training. You can't guarantee results. A doctor can't guarantee that you're not going to get sick. The teacher doesn't guarantee that you're going to get into Harvard. And a dog trainer can't guarantee behavior. So remember that no one can guarantee. There's too many variables that go into that. There is so much validated and reliable research on aversive methods. It can create aggression in dog and be elicited through the use. There was a study done. There was a study done on can aggression in dogs be elicited through the use of an electronic fence. And they found that unconditioned aggression may be the result of the dog receiving the shock. In other words, there was nothing else besides the shock that caused the aggression. The FDA banned electronic stimulation devices for aggressive behavior on humans, right? And this is recent. So this is 2020. So they used to do shock therapy for adults that were aggressive, but the evidence indicates a significant psychological and physical risk, worsening of the underlying symptoms, depression, anxiety, PTSD, pain, burns, and tissue damage. Now, this is for humans, but if we're not going to do this to humans, we certainly shouldn't be doing it to dogs. So you need to avoid using any kind of these training collars. Remember, the root cause of reactivity is fear, and you can't punish fear. The next one is corrections. So you want to avoid using a leash correction with your dog. So a correction is going to be a jerking on the dog's leash or the neck to get them to stop. So again, this doesn't change the cause of the problem, does a lot of damage to the neck and the spine, and it can make the reactivity worse. The next one in this category is no marker or a verbal marker. Research has found that dogs learn about 61% faster when you use a clicker versus a verbal marker. Clickers are correlated with positive reinforcement, and positive reinforcement means to strengthen behavior, and positive means to add something. So you're adding something to strengthen your dog's behavior. The clicker marks that behavior. Again, the American Veterinary Society of Animal Behavior says that you should look for a trainer that uses primarily and only reward-based training, treats, toys, and play, and that you want to avoid dog trainers that don't use those methods. Now, positive reinforcement works with all species of animals. In this photo, you see that they are using a whistle to train this dolphin, and they are using positive reinforcement to train this rhinoceros. I just found this video online quickly and easily. She's going to ask this rhinoceros to sit. They don't move very quickly, these rhinos. He's a big guy. Okay, she's going to click. She's using a clicker and positive reinforcement. She asks him for a down.
Good boy.
All right. If you could use positive reinforcement and a clicker with a ginormous rhinoceros, you can use it with your dog. I want to show you this other video because it's also a good example of positive reinforcement. It's a bit sloppy, but these are semi-wild wolves. And this guy isn't even speaking English. He's speaking German here. He's going to ask the wolf to get on the box. When the wolf gets on the box, he gets a piece of meat. So this is another good example of them using positive reinforcement to train a wolf. Wolf gets on the box, gets a piece of meat. Okay? So you could look that video up as well. If a wolf or a rhinoceros or a dolphin can be trained with positive reinforcement, so can your dog. All right, the next quadrant of reactivity is training, and we're going to talk about obedience first. So obedience doesn't help with reactivity because obedience teaches a action like sit, stay, come. Reactivity is an emotional issue, and you need to change the emotion behind it. So emotions are one side of the brain, right? And actions are the other, which is the difference of operant conditioning versus classical conditioning. So they're two different kinds of trainings, and it's because different parts of the brain are active and inhibited. So excitement is an emotional issue, right? That can lead to frustration. Frustration could lead to aggression. So you need an emotional process. Fear can lead to aggression in the form of self-defense. Okay. So it's an emotional issue. So obedience training is not going to work. Now, a lot of times people will use positive reinforcement. Great. That's what I want you to use. That's what you're going to learn to use if you move forward, but they're doing it wrong. So they're using positive reinforcement wrong. So it's not going to work if you're using it wrong. You could use a vacuum wrong and it's still not going to work. So this is a bit of a delicate process. And in order to use the food correctly, you can't be luring your dog. Also, you can't use low value food. Inside the Barkaholics program, you learn how to figure out which food does your dog like the best. You do a value survey, and then operant versus classical conditioning. So there is a difference, and you want to use classical conditioning, which is the emotional part. Years ago, I had a client. She was in the Barkaholics protocol, and she took 3 years of obedience classes with her dogs. She had 2 standard poodles, but they were very reactive. And she said, your videos have taught me more than 3 years of obedience classes. She said, it's all the little things that don't get caught in those classes that have caused issues with my dogs. So she was just doing it wrong, using positive reinforcement, but doing it wrong. She started training her sister's small rescue dog, and she's picking it up faster than her 2 standard poodles because she had started using it wrong. The next thing in training is you need to be consistent. Every walk is a training walk. Your dog is learning whether you're training him or not. And then for reactivity, you just need 2 hours of training a week. So you can break that up into 30-minute sections, or you can do 2 hours maybe on Saturday and Sunday. So when I do this with my private clients, I recommend 2 lessons a week. And then 6 weeks is really all you need to build a strong foundation. The rest is just maintenance. You put the work in up front in those 6 weeks. Now, another mistake people make with training is they wait until their dog is over the threshold. So your dog will have a threshold of tolerance. If your dog is barking and lunging, then he's past that threshold and training isn't going to work. So don't try to give your dog a treat. If your dog doesn't take a treat, then that's normal. He's too worried. If your dog won't take food, then it's not because he's not food motivated. It's because he's over his threshold of tolerance. And if your dog is even pulling on the leash, he's too worried and you need to back up in your training. Now, what do you want to do with your reactive dog? You want to build confidence and trust. So the training method must build trust, and positive reinforcement and the Barkaholics protocol do that. Your dog needs to trust that you're not going to put him in a situation where he feels unsafe. Reactivity is tied to you and your neighborhood. This is why boot camps don't work, right? There's nothing about you in general. It's just the reactivity happens with you more than anyone else. You need to start training exercises in the house. I call these the confidence building foundation behaviors. Those need to be done first, and they help build trust and confidence. And you need to change your dog's emotions with counter conditioning and desensitization. So I don't know if you remember Pavlov from college, but Pavlov is where the dog, they rang the bell and the dog would salivate. That is changing emotions. We call it a conditioned emotional response. Your dog already has a conditioned emotional response, and we want to change that. Desensitization is a gradual process. And remember, when you are doing classical conditioning and desensitization, it is a delicate process and you have to do it correctly. Now, if you're making any of the mistakes that you just learned about, or maybe you're doing the right things, but you're doing them wrong, now you know why it feels like you're doing all the things and nothing is working. So you're here because you're struggling with a dog that you can't walk. It's extremely difficult to control your dog when he's in the zone. He's unpredictable. You spend too much time apologizing to your neighbors, but you believe that your dog can change. And you're right. You're just stuck on how to make that happen. So as you know, the right training plan will teach you how to understand your dog, stop the rehearsal barking, teach you how to use the right tools the right way, build your dog's confidence, and change his emotions so that you can enjoy walking your dog. Now, you also learn that dog training is a numbers game, so you have to be determined. I can't teach you that, but you also need to have the right training plan with the right process to follow. So you might be wondering, what is specifically in the right training plan? Well, our quadrants are all here, and if you're like most, you're probably asking, how do I get started? How do I do this? How do I get the right training plan that has everything that I need so that I can finally enjoy walking my dog without the barking and lunging? And that's exactly why I created the Barkaholics program. It's your step-by-step blueprint training plan designed to show you how to get your dog to be calm when he sees another dog on leash so that you can have a relaxing walk. The Barkaholics program breaks down this process into 6 weeks. Now, I've used the same process with all of my reactive dog clients. So week 1, you to learn about feelings and fears, dog body language, desensitization, you identify triggers, you give your dog a break from triggers, and you learn how to create a safe environment. In week 2, start to use the clicker. You start right away training, you learn how to use the clicker correctly, you do a value survey, you find out what your dog values, and you start using the confidence building behaviors to build your dog's confidence. Weeks 3, 4, 5 and 6, you are going to start to counter condition and desensitize your dog. This is where you change your dog's emotions. The Barkaholics program is right for you if you want to enjoy walking your dog, you want to take your dog to cafes, you don't want to hire a private dog trainer or send your dog to boot camp, you want to feel proud of your dog, and you want to finally be able to have relaxing walks with your dog. Remember, the Barkaholics program breaks down the same protocol I use with all of my reactive clients. That's the same process that I've used with all dogs, all breeds for the past 10 years. So there are video tutorials. I actually would be training a reactive dog, set up a camera, recorded it, and then did a voiceover for the whole process just for you. Now, there are homework training logs inside the Barkaholics program. Each week, there are different exercises that you're going to need to do. The logs have the number of times that you should do each exercise, written instructions for the bonus lessons. So the bonus lessons include loose leash walking, how to teach your dog to walk without pulling, come when called, crate training, which is great if you have a dog that's afraid of people, settle or go to bed. This is one of my favorites. I use this every day. Door dashing so your dog doesn't run out of the door, and 5 creative ways to get your dog to listen. Now, you don't have to enroll in the Barkaholics program. You have other options. You could read books on reactivity, but that is going to take you anywhere between 5 hours to 70 hours a month. When was the last time you read a dog training book? You can watch social media videos, but that is going to take hours, and there's still missing pieces that you need. You're not going to get everything there. You can hire a private trainer to come to your home. That's what I do when I'm not talking to you here, right? That's going to cost anywhere between $1,200 to $5,000 for in-home private training for reactivity. You can send your dog to boot camp or a board and train program, but I wouldn't recommend that because reactivity involves you and your neighborhood. That's going to set you back between $3,000 to $7,000. Or you can use the Barkaholics program. Get started today, save time, save money, and get all of the shortcuts. Now, you might be saying, well, what if I get stuck or I want more help? With enrollment in the Barkaholics program, you get to submit 3 training videos. So you could submit one of your training videos that's 2 minutes or under and ask for some feedback. I love it when people send me their videos on Instagram. So you're allowed to send 3, but you have access to a certified dog trainer, most likely me. You can add private Zoom lessons if you want. You can add just one Zoom lesson for 30 minutes is $75. Or if you're not sure if the Barkaholics program is right for you and you want more information, you can do a virtual training package, which includes a 60-minute consultation and a private Zoom lesson for an additional $220. So the Barkaholics program has video tutorials of reactive dogs for each exercise, and you can go at your own pace, learn when you're available, no classes to rush to. You can do it at home, after work, on the weekends, in the evenings. Your spouse or family members can also watch the videos and learn, and you get access to everything in the program for 1 year. You also get the 6 bonus lessons. You get access to a private Facebook group. You can ask questions in that group. You can post videos in that group. You also get to submit the 3 training videos to me directly. You can add private Zoom lessons if you want, no pressure, and you get access to the whole Barkaholics program and all the bonuses for 1 year. So what is your investment in the Barkaholics program? The value of all of this is $3,000, but you're going to get this deal for $297 for a limited time. So if you enroll in the Barkaholics program within the next 3 days, you can enroll for $297. There should be a timer somewhere on this video. The price of the Barkaholics program is going to go up to $397. You can enroll today and for the next couple of days for $297. You can make 2 payments of $168 or just 1 payment of $297. So you can go from chaos to calm in 6 weeks in the Barkaholics program. I look forward to helping you and getting your videos, and I will see you in the program. Happy training.